I believe that we live to die and we all die trying to live. When I was 6 years old, my grandpa seemed pretty healthy to me because he was always doing some kind of work around the house where my dad grew up. When we would go visit, he would always hand out cookies to my sisters and me. We knew the stories about grandpa moving his family to Houston to seek medical attention for my grandma. By the time they got to Houston, it was too late. My dad was 9 when grandma died of hepatitis C in St. Joseph Hospital at the age of 30. For what? She was just trying to live. My grandma lived a life dedicated to her children and her husband, but her life was cut short. 30 years had passed since grandma had died. Now grandpa is laid up in a hospital bed. I have never liked hospitals because it felt like death was all around me. While my grandpa was hooked up to an IV and a monitor that was helping him breathe, I knew then something was not right. I looked up at my dad, who I thought was made out of stone. I guess I was wrong. I could see a tear come down his cheek underneath his pitch-dark sunglasses that he wore to cover up the tears. It wasn't working. My dad was wearing his heart on his sleeve that day. I knew that I was never going to see Grandpa again. A few days passed and Grandpa was buried. He died at the age of 63. I asked my dad with a confused and unsure tone, why did Grandpa have to go? My dad said, "Son, we live to die and we die trying to live." As a child, I never understood the phrase, but as an adult, I now see what he meant. What more can I say about death? Death is natural. Just like if we would get cut, we'd bleed. There's nothing that's not normal about death. We just tend to push the thought of death as far back as we can in our minds so that we can go on with our lives and deal with it later when the time comes. People have been predicting when the world will end. So far, nobody has gotten it right. I know when the world ends. When I die, that's when the world will end, but just for me. I believe if death was taken from the equation and we were granted eternal life on earth, the world would overpopulate with no more room to grow, and there would be total chaos all over the world. So there's nothing wrong with death. I believe that death comes to us all. Dying is good for us as human beings. To live forever on earth would be greedy and selfish to generations to come.